An animal rights group in Florida has made it its mission to remove a chimp from a family here in Gloversville. They claim the chimp is actually a person with the same rights as humans. And we're joined by WGY legal analyst Chas Farcher of Martin, Harding & Mazzotti. Good morning, Chas.
Good morning, Kelly. How are you?
Pretty good. So this is now in the state Supreme Court. What exactly is going on here?
A chimp out in Gloversville who's being kept in a small cage. So you have an animal rights group who sued on behalf of the chimp. They brought what's called a writ of habeas corpus, which is something that's usually brought when you have a prisoner or somebody who's been imprisoned who wants to be brought before a judge and either charged with a crime or released. It's a way to try and gain a person's freedom. It's usually not used for animals, but that's exactly what you have here in this case.
So how do you make the case for personhood in this case?
Well, I think the arguments are the ones that the animal rights groups already made. You know, in New York, we recognize non-persons and grant them the same rights as persons. For instance, corporations. You know, in this country, we determine that corporations are people. So why not animals? You know, and in other instances, we've allowed people to sue on behalf of animals. For instance, if you own a dog and the dog is injured or hurt, then people can sue on behalf of the animal. But the difference is that the injury is usually, or the injury or the damages are something that are usually caused to the person directly. For instance, if I sue because someone damaged my dog, I'm usually suing for the value of the dog, or i.e. the value of the property, not for the freedom of my dog.
Now this group, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
This group claims that this chimp is in his early 20s. It's, you know, a person because it's intelligent and self-aware and can make choices. And if they open the door to classifying a chimp as a human, then what happens, say, if my neighbor doesn't like the fact that I keep my dog in a fenced-in yard and they want or a doghouse and they want the dog removed?
Yeah, and I think that's the problem. It's a slippery slope argument. I mean, what's next? I mean, cattle, dogs, rats, flies, you know, I have no idea. And that's why I think you already had this case decided at the trial court level out in Fulton County. That, you know, they've lost at the trial court. It's now going up to the appellate division of the third department, where less than 1 in 10 cases generally get overturned. So I think the chances of the chimp being granted personhood are, you know, probably pretty low. You know, so because it is a slippery slope argument, and you're right, where do you draw the line? And then what about if you grant the chimp rights? Then what about civil or criminal penalties? I mean, if the chimp is given rights, then can they be held civilly liable, say if they throw a rock through a windshield, or criminally liable if they attack another person? So where do you draw that line?
And how can someone in Florida who has absolutely no connection to this family or this chimp get involved in a case like this and actually drag this guy into court, the owners?
Yeah, right, and that's the other problem. You know, I think the issue of standing or the right to sue is a big issue here, and that's part of the underlying case. If you don't have standing, if you haven't been aggrieved or injured in some case, then in many instances your case will be thrown out or you'll lose anyway, which I think is part of the problem they have here. There's no standing to begin with. The chimp can't sue on his own behalf because they don't have any legal rights, and you know, they don't have any ownership interest or can't show that they've actually been aggrieved or injured. So I think the lack of standing is part of the problem with the animal rights case to begin with.
So you feel the likelihood of a successful appeal is very small?
Yeah, I do. I don't think they're, you know, it seems like a case that's probably not going to be successful. But, you know, at the same time, if you look at it historically, I mean, like I said, New York State treats corporations, which are non-people, as people. And, you know, if you go back 100 years, if people test, you know, other issues with, you know, women and slaves were not treated as full people at some point in time. So, I mean, there is an argument to be made that there's a progression here, and why not chimps be in the next step, since they are shown to have similar mental capacity of a 4 or 5-year-old person. But it seems like a slippery slope, and like I said, where do you draw the line if you start here today?
Well, maybe draw the line by allowing what animals can be held as pets in Gloversville and what can't. You have a chimp, you know, that's not exactly the same as having a dog or cat.
Agreed.
WGY legal analyst Chas Farcher of Martin, Harding & Mazzotti, 1-800-LAW-1010. Chas, thank you.
Have a great day, guys.
You too.